Hello and thanks as always for listening. My name is Bryan, host of the Plant Podcast. The Plant is brought to you by ThinManager Software, the global leader in thin client management and mobility solutions. ThinManager is a Rockwell automation technology. In this episode of The Plant, we spoke with Keith Jones, Strategic Account Manager for ThinManager. We talked about some of the challenges faced and opportunities available when supporting customers in multiple countries, time zones, and languages. Hello and welcome to The Plant. I'm your host, Bryan, and joining me today is Keith Jones, Strategic Account Manager for ThinManager. Keith oversees much of our non-U.S. customer and opportunity base. He has customers all over the world and probably never sleeps. Keith, thanks for joining me today. Before we dive into some questions, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to join the ThinManager team.
Oh, hi, Bryan. Thanks. Well, it's great to have the opportunity to talk about ThinManager. As you may know, I've been around with ACP since about 2010 when I joined from another similar industrial software company. And my role at the time was really to develop the international business partners and channel for ThinManager. So in the first 5 or so years, we went from about 2 distributors globally to way over 30 trained and competent distributors all over Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Europe. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's been a heck of a ride.
Well, I guess then you've probably done a lot of travel in between those distributors to get them on board.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon by 2015 I was doing at least 150,000 miles a year, and I'm kind of dangerous in a few languages, but not really fluent. So some of the times it's been funny. I've been stuck in meetings and we've reached to Google Translate to have a conversation. But on the whole,
So does that make you like a platinum frequent flyer then?
oh yeah. Unfortunately.
You go to the airport and they're like, "Hey, Keith, how you doing?"
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, so apart from the vigorous travel and some of the language barriers that you face, I mean, what are some of the other like biggest challenges you face when promoting promoting ThinManager to the international markets?
Well, I've lived in quite a few places around the world, from the Middle East to Asia, over my career. So for me, what you might expect would be the hardest thing would be the cultural differences, but I didn't find that as much of an issue. So a lot of the challenge for me is educating the right people in the distributor, getting the distributor energized to see the value of ThinManager, promoting it as well as his other products, because he's got other products that he needs to focus on. And you're really competing here for airtime with the distributor, and that's not just an international challenge. That's a challenge everywhere you have a channel partner. And yeah, time zones. I try to accommodate calls with distributors and customers, so that does get to mean quite a few late night or early morning calls. But working from a home office really helps in that respect.
So you probably keep some interesting hours at certain times of the year.
Yeah, especially when the quarters get close to ending.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So, in your opinion, is there more competition, internationally and in Europe and some of those other areas, or do you see more in the United States?
More internationally, I'm in my experience, an international distributor may have a lot of products to focus on, and some of them are, because of the way that ACP was organized, they're actually competitive products to some of our products. So, managing that baton and keeping the balance, it gets kind of tough.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say for our listeners who Keith has mentioned ACP a couple times, and ACP was purchased by Rockwell back in 2016. So ThinManager, the Rockwell product that everybody knows now, used to be part of Automation Control Products, or ACP. Keith, let me ask you, in your opinion, are there markets currently internationally that offer, I guess, the biggest opportunities for ThinManager?
Well, wherever there's a manufacturing capability, there's an opportunity for ThinManager globally. Where the particular areas we're seeing great growth now is EMEA. which was actually the largest market for ThinManager outside North America anyway. But what I'm really encouraged by now is the take up with inside the Rockwell teams, and I'm seeing growth in Asia and Australasia also. So yeah,
Okay, just for anybody who doesn't know, what does EMEA stand for?
Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
What another question I have for you, what's the best advice you can give to channel partners internationally looking to expand ThinManager sales opportunities into their customer
What
base?
what I always say is really just go for it. Train your people. That's the number one thing. Get a champion, somebody who really knows, understands, and believes in ThinManager. ThinManager itself is not a hard product to learn, and with the familiarity you get and the confidence you'll get by playing with it, you'll pay back this investment many times over. So, first of all, have an internal capability to demo and showcase ThinManager across all of your sales and pre-sales people. Get them to take it on the road. We've had a lot of successes globally with these methods, and we see a lot of our partners really pushing it through road shows, through seminars, because showing ThinManager, as you know, is one of the best ways to convince somebody of its value. We do customer visits, we do customized demos, we do promotional licensing. A lot of it is system integrator education and getting the system integrator partners convinced that they can use ThinManager and make a better profit, a better margin on a job by using it than not using it. So just
Yeah, we actually our last show we had Paul Burns on, who talked a lot about the training and all that goes into getting SIs educated. We also talked about kind of the light bulb that goes off when you show ThinManager. Somebody sees exactly the capability and sees in their head how it would apply to their prospect, their customer, their current job that they're putting into place, and it's pretty amazing once they get that full idea and they're
yeah.
like, I get it.
Yeah, no,
That's where
training
it'll
your
work.
SIs is key. They're an army. They're an additional army that you've got to go out and sell ThinManager and bring you orders. So I really believe in bringing SI partners around to the believing side.
Oh yeah, no, I fully agree too. Well, before I let you go, one last question, and just what is the biggest, I guess, travel challenge you've ever faced in international workings with ThinManager
What,
and
you
your
want to know, like my
customers?
worst trip ever or something?
Yeah, kinda. I kind of do. I made Paul do this too, but give us a good story about the, I
Well,
guess, the
back in
worst
the
trip
day,
ever.
I was um, I was doing a series of road shows in Australia, 4 cities in about a week and a half, which is quite a challenge because Australia is as big as, if not bigger than the US, and these are intercontinental type of trips. So I booked my travel to the US and back, and it wasn't changeable. So once that had been arranged, somebody phoned me up and said, "Hey, we've got a really good opportunity here in Abu Dhabi. We're doing a customer show. We're doing a really big event, 400 people. Can you come and present ThinManager? Can you take a booth and everything?" And essentially, that was the week after I finished in Australia. So what I had to do was book a back-to-back trip from Australia. So the trip to Abu Dhabi involved Brisbane, Sydney, Los Angeles, which was my original travel. 5 hours in Los Angeles instead of going
Hmm.
home and see my family and everything. 5 hour layover, then Los Angeles to Atlanta to Dubai, which is a lot of hours. A 2 hour drive once from
Hmm.
Dubai to I was totally fatigued out by the time I got there. Nearly 2 days of travel, constant travel.
And then you get up there, you're exhausted, and they're like, "All right, be
Yeah,
energetic and
exactly. Oh,
show
by
us
the
this
way, I've got a
product."
customer meeting in the next hour.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, Keith, thank you so much for coming on. I want to tell our listeners, anybody who would like to, you can go to thinmanager.com, go into the about us, the contact us. You can always find how to get a hold of Keith. That's all the time we have for this episode of The Plant. As I already
Hey,
mentioned,
thank
thank
you,
you,
brother.
Keith Jones, for joining us. And oh, absolutely. You're welcome anytime you want. We'll we'll get some other people on here and have an interesting conversation about international travel. For our listeners, thinmanager.com, find out anything you need to know about ThinManager. Thank you very much. I'm your host, Bryan Harned, and we'll talk to you next time on The Plane.